So now let's go with map, filter and reduce functions. So we'll learn about map, filter and reduce function. So first of all, let's go with reduce function. So I'll just add reduce function. Now, so what is reduce functions? For example, I would like to see reduce function how it acts. So if you have an array, for example, we are going for map, filter and reduce in array. So if we have an array, now it contains like many elements. I'm just giving it for example. Now we will reduce it. We'll have a transformation function. So here it will go here, and this is a function reduce, which is a transformer function. And it will convert it to a single array or single element. That's how reduce function is. You just need a single element out of this all array function. Now let's go with the example. So we have already learned function. So what we can do is that let's create a function. For example, we have an array. So like we have a numbers from 1 to 100. I'll use here collect function. Collect function is very handy if you want to generate the numbers. So what I will do, I have the square of numbers with the help of collect function. So let's add first collect 1 to 100 on. So I have total 100 functions. So I'll store this in total 100 numbers if you see, and I will store this in array. So I'll just add first 100, so, which is an array of 100 functions. Now we want to do the sum of them. So first we will use the functions method, so which we have learned. So I will create a function add up. It will go in this, and what it will do, we will be taking t as a array, and here it will add the total. So we'll just loop it for x and t, and we'll add the total. And now this is the function which does the addition. So first of all, let's do the first 10 addition. So with the help of collect function, we'll do first 10, just collect and then 1 to 10. So this will generate a list for us for 1 to 10 numbers. Now we will use add up function to add first 10 elements. First 10 numbers. So it is not printing anything because we haven't returned anything. So let's return this total from here. Now if you see, the first sum of first 10 numbers is 55, and for this we have written this function. But can we use some inbuilt function to like create the sum? And the answer is yes. So what we have to do, we have to use the reduce function. So whatever we have done, so we can, for example, tomorrow we want to multiply the first 10 numbers. So we will not write another function, and we'll use, instead of like total, we'll use total and then equals to x. We can do this, but this becomes very cumbersome when you want to implement any other function if any built-in methods exist. So in Julia, reduce is the built-in method that exists. So we can just use total first 10 equals to reduce function and then just we'll use the plus method and we'll use the first 10 array. So this is also 55 you can see. So this is work this is doing the same thing which this function was doing. Everything, like if you want to like reduce function, what it does is that it will take each element. So for example, it will take each element. So I am doing for first, for example, 7 numbers. So we have 1 2 3 6 numbers. So it will take each element and use the plus addition sign. So what it will do, it will first add to this one using plus, and then add this one plus some of this until here, which is plus, and that's how it has achieved. The advantage of using the reduce function is that now if we want to multiply the first 10 numbers, so we can use star. If you see, it is the multiplication of first 10 numbers. Now this is how reduce function works. Another way we can use it to reduce is the concatenation of the string. So like for example, I have a message in an array which is hello, this world is not enough. Now we want to multiply, we want to sum this. One is to, what we can do, we can use for loop as we have done here and then add and then put the string. But the easiest way would be we can just create the sentence out of it using the reduce function. And it is, so in Julia we use asterisk for concatenation. In Python it is plus. So okay, no, this has become sentence. So this comes very handy. Another function is map function. So in map function, what it does is that it performs an operation to each of the elements. Now, if you take like this an array and converts, like it does the conversion from there itself. So if you see, if we have this and if we do the map to this function, if we apply the map method to this function, what it will do is that it will perform some operation to each of the methods. So it will take this method and what it will do, so for first element, this element will go in map function. Map function will take all of this, okay, and what it will do, it will perform the operation on each of this element. So perform some function operation, then perform some function operation, and we can use this in each of the element of the above array. So we can just use the f and function on each of the element. Now let's see, let's do one example with the function example, and then we can use the map function directly. Now so if you want to literally, like let's say like the capitalization of all numbers or letters, not numbers. So capitalize, then we'll take the string and then resultant will store in the array. and we'll do for s in t, and then we'll push uppercase is the method to convert the string to lower string to uppercase, and then we'll return the result. And so what this is doing, this is taking the string and it is capitalizing it every each of the letter in the string. So if you want to see now, so x equals to hello world, and then we will do output equals to capitalize x. So if you see, it has capitalized each of the letter hello world, h, and this one. So but and then we can join it, then we can create a word out of it using the join function, of course. So do we need this whole, how much, 8 or 9 lines of code? Absolutely no. So what we can do, we can use, for example, let's say y equals to hello world. Now I can use simply map function, and what I will do, I will map each element y in y. So if you see here, and we can obviously store in some value. What we are doing here is that in each element of the y, what we're doing, we're iterating over it, and we are, this underscore is like to define the local variable. If I, in case I have used any y as a variable in this session. So here what it will do is that it will go to each of the element, what we have done in this function, it will iterate over each element, and then it will create the uppercase of the string. So we can use this as a map. And another, like for example, if we want to, another example is like if we want to square the number. So original numbers, for example, 1 comma 2 comma 3 and 5. Now if you want to do the square of number, so square numbers equals to map num, and then num square, and then original number. So what is happening here is that from original number, so you can see it has squared the number. So what is happening here is that this function, if you see, this function is getting run for each of the element in this function. So let me just use the smallest one. Now if you see, okay, I just accidentally did very small, so I was not able to locate my 10. So now if you see here, what is happening is that we are running this function, this original numbers, and we are using map, we are running this function on each of the element, and it is doing a square root of that element, and hence we have got this output. I think it is clear. So this is how map, it also exists in multiple, like I have seen in Python, so it also exists in multiple programming languages. Especially I have worked with Python, so I can say, definitely say it works in JavaScript also. So it has. And another, like another example, if we want to convert the string of numbers, like now if I want to convert the numbers to the strings, so I can use string nums equals to map, and just use this function string and then original numbers. You see, we have just used the simple function, we have converted this to the original function. Last but not the least, we have to go through filter function. So filter function, you can think of it as a funnel, so filter itself. So for example, yeah. So now here we have some function f of n, and if it is true, and if this function is true, output of this function, then only the element will pass from here and it will get converted into the new array. So a new array of strings. So for example, we pass here string or array or anything like dictionaries as well. So this is the filter function definition. So we pass in here string, array, struct or tuples, and then filter. Tuples are immutable, so we'll have to store it in different object. Now, for example, we if we have to implement the function like function only upper, then which will only take the upper element. So you might have seen this question in most of the practice questions. So if it is uppercase, and one more thing we'll have to add, s is not an empty character or string. So then only we'll have to push this to our result. Yeah. Now we'll return the result. So this is how filter function we'll see with the function example. Now if I have, for example, hello world function, so I can only use only upper, and then I can just pass in hello world. So we should get only upper elements. If you see, we have written only hn. So in this, what we're doing, we're comparing if h equals to uppercase, so which is there and it is not empty string, then it is passing. So we are not getting space here. Otherwise, we could have got the space. So we can do the same thing with filter. So what we can do, we can use a filter function. So you can store it in some variable later. So we'll first use comma. Let us use our string as hello world. And what we can do, we need to only run this if x equals to upper case x. Okay. Let's see. Here also we have got h and w only. So this is how filter works. So another example is that we can, so we have the first 100 numbers. First 10, I would give example. We have the first 10 numbers. Now we have to just get the even numbers. So what we can do, filter. Now if x will iterate over using x mod of 2 equals to 0 for this first 10. So you see we were able to do the even numbers. You can also do this for like another example would be the used to filter with the length of the words. So for example, words equals to apple, banana, grape, cherry, and then kiwi. Now what we can do, we just need to filter the words which are less than length of 5. So we can do length word, and it is less than or equal to 5 for words. So if you see here, it is we are getting all the words which are more than 5, and it has skipped kiwi and cherry because less than or equal to 5. So it has only got apple, grape, and it has kept banana and cherry because they are more than 5. Now next we will learn about dot syntax. This is very helpful, I have found, and intuitive in Julia. So here what we have to do, it can transfer like each of the element directly. So if I have like words thing here where it is A B C D E F G H I. Now one thing you might have seen that in everywhere, like now what we can do is that if we want to make this whole capitalized word, either we can use map function or like we can use the function and do the capitalize. We have to iterate over all word, but with the help of dot we can just use the inbuilt method. So this is uppercase and just use dot and then words. So if you see, this dot syntax works on all the function. So if we have um for example, if we have the list of numbers first 10, yeah, so we know first 10. Now we can use first 10 and we have to add all the numbers with 2 plus dot on and then plus 2, so it will add or 2 to each of the numbers directly. So this dot operator is very handy. Another example is like if you want to do the square root of all the functions. So I have nums equals to like 4, 16, 9, 25, and 36. Now if I have to do the square root, so I can do square root and then dot of nums directly, and it should give me the square root of each. So this is how handy it is. So but I don't know why the square root of 36 is 7.007. The square root of say 36 should be 6. Okay. So yeah, I need to check why this is there. But yeah, this is how it is, and dot function is so useful. Now let's start with array comprehensions in Julia. So if you have worked with Python, then in Python there is array comprehension as well as dictionary comprehension. So in Julia also, like we can do the same. So for example, we have like even numbers list. So if we want to create the square root of even numbers, like we have the nums this way, and if we want to calculate the same thing like square root, so we can do using array comprehensions as well. So this is possible like when if we don't have any custom function like square root built-in function to do something. But yeah, today here like we will be taking a simple example of the square not square root, square root of even number. So we have already have nums list, so it is already in squared form. So I think dot operator, with the help of dot operator we will be able to do that. So let me just copy this one. So what I will do, okay, so we'll do the square of first 10 even numbers. So if I print first 10, so we have 1 to 10 numbers. Now if I want to do the squared events, uh, so we can do as for mixing first 10. So here like we can directly write for loop inside the squared bracket, which is often referred as comprehension because we use this as list also. And we can just use the whatever we want to do with this variable, this will be here. So if we do this way, So if you see here, we have got the squared events, and it is like a square of first 10 even numbers. Now, no, first 10 numbers. Now, for example, if we want to do it for only the numbers greater than 5, so what we can do is that I'll not use variable now. So first of all, write let for x in first 10. Okay. Now what we have to do, we have to do the square of that number. Now only if, so we can also add if argument. So here, like if you see here, here goes the first part, which is the iteration part. Here is the value part, and here is the condition. So if you want to like do that, so condition we have to put is greater than x greater than 5. Now let's see what happens. So it will only put the give us the square of first after 5. So in this case, what we can do, if you have to see here, I can just put the convention for us to make it easy. So it is like this. Here it is iteration, which is usually for loop. Here is the expression, and here is the condition. This is how the array comprehension work. So we can use either like expression and iteration, or we can use condition as per our requirement. Now let's see another example. Like for example, if you want to like like if you want to do the multiplication of 3, we can also do it like directly I into 3 for I in, we can directly insert if we want to generate the list. So we remember like we can use the collect method, so we can also create a list using this way. Another like example is to uppercase the word. So we have like, let us see if I have used the words. So we have the words now. Now what we can do, we can just use for word, which is iteration in words, and I can just do uppercase word. This is how it is. Now we can Julia also supports the nested comprehension. So if we want to print, for example, make a table of multiplication of tables, so we can add multiple for loops as well. So for example, as we would do for multiple um, fors in the function, but here like we are directly using the list. So this is useful because we don't need to declare any array extra and then use the push method like how we were using here. If you see, yeah, in the like this, it is not required to do the push method. We can directly create the array, and we can do that like update it. So here like for example only uppercase T, we can do this as well if we want to do the only uppercase method. Now I'll give a small example of generating the multiplication of tables. So first we'll write for I in like table from 1 to 5, and then for j in 1 to 10. So this is how like first iteration, and then what we'll do I into j. We can also do show command. Let's see what happens. So if you see here, it has generated the multiplication of first table of first, table of second, and then some more, like we have here table of 5 as well. So this is how we can do using nested comprehension to generate the tables as well. Now we'll go with the last part of our arrays, which is deletion and insertion of element. I've kept it as last, but I should have kept this earlier. It's okay. Deletion and insertion of elements in array. Now, like for example, we have an array which is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now if we want to delete the, for example, we if you want to delete the index at 2, like which we were like trying to do earlier, so how we can do, we can use splice method. So splice and then array and the index which we want to delete. So it has removed the 2. So if we print zz now, we should get 1 3 and 4. Let's take another example. For example, we have names, I think. Okay, names is the variable we are already using. Let's see if wwe names are available or not. Yeah, it is available. Now if we want to remove, like for example, James from our list, so how we can do is that I'll do splice and then array name, which is wwe names, and then 3. So it is at index 3, 1 2 and 3. Let's see what happens. So it has removed the, it is also given the output James when it removes, just like pop, and we have got the new arrays, like it has removed the James. Now there is also pop, as we have already gone through it, like pop deletes the element from the last. So if I do now pop for wwe, it also returns the element which it has deleted. So it will remove undertaker. So it has removed undertaker. Now if we see wwe names, now if you see, it has also removed the undertaker. Now there is another function which I was like trying to see yesterday, which was remove or delete. So it is delete at. So if we see, okay, before that let's have pop first. So pop first, what it does is that pop first will remove the pop from the, like remove the element, first element. So it will remove Austin. So if we again see wwe names, you might see Brock Rock and this. Now we can also look at another example, deleted. So if I have, now if you see here, we have a new array which is abcd. Now if we want to delete at certain element only, like, and if you don't want to return the element, because splice what it does is that it deletes and as well as the, it removes the element and it returns the element as well from that index. But we can use delete at and then you variable array and the index. So it will delete and it will not return the result. This is useful when we don't want to get the element we want to delete. And then there is insert method. I know we have the push method, but insert method is also there, which we have discussed already. Array and then the index at which we want to insert and the element itself. So we have inserted ttx at index 2. So if we see here, it is like this. Now we also need to check for the arrays and string. We can create arrays from the string as well. So for example, I'll use the arrays and then collect. If you want to create the string array from the string, for example, live docs. So it hasn't worked because it is string and I'm using character literal. So I'll just change here this to string. Now if you see, this has become the array docs. Now we can also split the string. For example, I have a string which is like, for example, I can do this, use the split function. The quick brown fox jumped over a lazy dog. Now if you see, it will split now and we have got the array. So let me store this in the split output. Now split output contains, so we split by default splits from the space. So what it has done, if we see now, it has split the space from the space. It has like taken each words as an index, and it has removed, like from the space it has broken the sentence. So we have all the words in this case. This is good and helpful. So by default space is the one, but if we want to split using any other, like for example comma, we can use that as well, or domain. So let's take another example. So I would say email equals to abc@xyz.com. So this is our string. Now I want, if we split this one, split email, and then we want to split using @. Sometimes we don't want to remove the domain. If you see, it has removed the email ID and the domain separately. Now we have two strings, which is ABC in the array, which is ABC and xyz.com. Now objects and values, I think we have already gone through it. So how we need to use copy, but still, like I will once again go through this. So if like we have two strings, for example, banana b equals to banana. So what you expect here is that if we use triple equals to, I think I will have to use equivalent b. So what it is, true. Now let's see, because they both are strings and immutable. Let's have another string which is an array, bb equals to, which is in this one. Now bb a false, because these two are different objects. Hence this is the case. But if we try to see like this with 2 equals to, then it is equal, because these are identical. Hence with the 2 equals to, it compares the identity, like it checks the equivalency. But in this case it is checking that if both refers to the same object or not, then it becomes like equivalent. So equivalent is false. If you want to check two objects, I will always suggest use this one. And if you want to check identity, if the elements are equal or not, then use this one. Now we can also check, like for example, one more thing is, like for example, if I have an array which is 1 2 3 4. Now let's do nn equals to we will copy the variable. Now let's see nn equivalent of so it will be true, because this both objects are referring to same variable. Now if I have already explained in previous chapter, but yeah, let's see. If I make changes nn1 equals to 99, then what happens? nn and so they both are changed, but we have already changed, we made the changes to nn only, but it referred to as well, because they both are referring to the same object. So in this case, always use like copy method. So if instead of like equals to, like if we copy in the same thing, let's do. Now what I will do, ff equals to copy, I'll copy the variable. Now if we try to do the equivalent, it will be false, because they both are not referring to same object once we use the copy method. So if you are copying on your object, use copy methods. In this case here, it is referring to true because we just assigned it, so they both are referring to the same object. Cool, thank you guys. So this is for arrays, and we will be back with another lesson on Julia. Thank you, have a great day.